So today we're going to talk about Alfred Wegener and the theory of continental drift. So our focus question is, what is the theory of continental drift? So first let's talk about who Alfred Wegener was. He had a hypothesis that all the continents had once been joined together in a single landmass and have since drifted apart. He gathered evidence from different scientific fields to support his ideas, and he studied land features, fossils, and evidence of climate change in order to support them. So the fossils help to show the same species living on different continents, but during the same time period. The problem was that he couldn't provide an explanation why, so no one really believed him at the time. This is a picture of Alfred Wegener, and this is what he claimed was Pangea, or one large single landmass. So if you look at this diagram of the Earth's lithospheric plates, these plates contain the continents, and on them you'll notice that there's different types of boundaries. So if the plates are sliding past each other, this is called a transform boundary. If it's one where they are coming together, it's called convergent, or coming together convergent. And if it's a divergent boundary, they're going apart from each other like this dotted line. So there's 3 different possible boundaries. So what is the theory of continental drift? It's a theory that explains how continents shift positions on the Earth's surface. It also explained why look-alike animals and plant fossils and similar rock formations are found on different continents. So about 200 million years ago, it was suggested that the continents looked something like this, and they were all very close to each other. And then over the next 70 million years, some of them started to drift apart a little bit more. And then another 70, almost 70, but 60 million years went by, and they continued to drift apart even further. And today, they're even further apart than they were 70 million years ago. So you'll notice this shift in the continents and in the positioning, or they're drifting around the ocean. And this is what we call continental drift. So over time, as these plates are moving, we started with this idea of Pangea. And Pangea is one large supercontinent, or one large landmass. And this was about 260 million years ago. And it was thought that these different landmasses drifted together. So from the opposite direction than what we were moving at this point, they were drifting together. And then about 225 million years ago, they started to break apart again. So like we said, there's 3 different kinds of plate boundaries. There's divergent, which is a place where 2 plates move apart or diverge in different directions. There's convergent, the place where 2 plates come together or converge. So the sea and come together, and the sea and convergent. And then there's transform, where 2 plates slip past each other, moving in opposite directions. So if we look at this in a diagram, you'll see this transform or boundary, this divergent, where they move away from each other, and this convergent, where they come together. And in this diagram below, you'll notice that these convergent plate boundaries is where you see something like a trench. At the divergent plate boundaries, this is where we see that oceanic spreading, and it creates a ridge. And then in transform boundaries, like in this, you'll see a shift in the actual plate boundary itself right here. All of these then have consequences that can then happen from these 2 different types of things. So you'll notice here where there's a convergent plate boundary, where the oceanic crust, which is more dense, slides underneath the continental crust. You can see things like a mountain range and volcanoes forming. So let's do some quick questions. What is the name of the giant landmass that was on the Earth 260 million years ago? It was Pangea. This is a plate boundary where 2 plates move apart from each other. This is a divergent boundary. Plate boundary, where two plates slip past each other in opposite directions. This is a transform boundary. Plate boundary, where two plates come together. Convergent plate boundary. So now that we've learned about the different plate boundaries, go ahead and move on to your worksheet. When you're done with that, there is a look at your playlist for what you should be doing next.